get our coal train to the power plant, we've got to cross some rugged terrain. But first, we're taking this huge load right smack dab through the middle of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
This bridge is huge. It's going to be more than a half-mile long.
It's known as the Steel City.
Right now we're crossing the Ohio River coming into Pittsburgh.
But in the 1900s, it was coal that powered the factories that made Pittsburgh famous. Today, millions of tons of coal pass through this city every year. But getting this mile-long train through the mountains safely is no breeze. It takes patience, skill, and something train engineers call instinct.
Larry is over here driving the train, or running the train, that's the more technical term. And he's got all kinds of levers, and there's a lot of machinery he's working. What people might not realize is that being an engineer takes a little more than that. There's a thing called instinct. He can feel every little vibration, every little push, every little pull this train is doing right here in the seat.
Too much vibration is a warning sign for the engineer. It means the speed of the locomotive needs to be adjusted.
And he can anticipate what move to make. It's almost like a game of chess, where he's going to be about 4 or 5 moves ahead of where he is right now. I'll tell you what, Larry's a darn good engineer. I've ridden with a lot of engineers in my lifetime, and
Smooth as silk.
yeah, it's very smooth.
We're approaching Johnstown, the site of one of the biggest disasters in American history. In 1889, Johnstown was booming and had a population of 30,000. But on May 31st of that year, a huge dam 14 miles north of the town burst. 20 million tons of water came crashing down the Little Conemaugh River. A 40-foot high wave smashed into Johnstown, washing away homes, factories, and huge steam locomotives. Over 2,200 people died in the flood, and even more were left homeless. First to the rescue was the Pennsylvania Railroad. In 3 days, new tracks were laid, enabling food, supplies, and relief workers to be brought in by train. The railroad saved the day.
This mountain, this rail line, is no joke. There's some serious business here.
And a serious challenge. Early railroad pioneers found the Alleghenies much too steep to climb. The trains broke down and were stranded in the mountains.
And that's not good news when you've got 15,000 tons of coal behind you that's waiting to power the whole East Coast.
That's correct.
Have you ever thought of it that way? You're pulling electricity behind you, man.
Getting over the ridge is not going to be easy. It may not look like much, but believe me, with all this weight, the grade that we need to climb is a dangerous obstacle. A grade is the degree to which the track goes up or down. If the track rises 1 foot over a distance of 100 feet, it's said to be on a 1% grade. Most railroads consider a 2% grade to be very steep. Grades in the Alleghenies often rise above 2%. So there's no way a huge train like ours can get through on its own. To get our 15,000-ton coal train up and over these mountains, we're gonna need some help.
Hey, this is it. We're coming into Johnstown. We're gonna put the helpers on.
A helper is a locomotive that provides an extra push to get a huge load up a steep grade.
I want to see how this works. I'm gonna go ride the helpers.
The 2 helpers we're hooking up add over 6,000 horsepower to our existing engines. That's a total of 21,000 horsepower on our train. It's like having 26 NASCAR engines blasting at full tilt.
Okay, we're on the helpers. We're getting ready to hook onto the rear of the train and give it a push.
These 2 helper locomotives will push our coal train for 60 grueling miles over the Alleghenies before cutting off in Altoona.
So the helper crew is now in sync with the head-end crew, correct? You've done your brake test? Everything is the same, and you guys are gonna push now, right? Push away! Push away, John!
Right.
All right! To make it up and over this mountain, Norfolk Southern is going to use 6 engines. 6 engines. You hear that right here behind me? These engines are using all the power they have to make it up and over this mountain. Wow, you guys really put these engines through their paces. This is unreal.
The helper crew are in constant radio contact with the head end crew who are running the locomotive at the front of our train. They'll tell us just how much juice to give our helper locomotive. Right now, we're getting close to full throttle.
I can feel it. We're bearing down now. Yeah, we're bearing down. This thing's really starting to push now. You can feel it in the seat. We must be getting pretty close to the top because I can really feel it. These engines are pushing hard. We're slowing down. Are you scared? I am.
In my experience, it's a hard enough job to get a train safely to its destination on a straight track. These inclines take it to another level.
So we're actually going to have the head end going down the hill, and we're still going to be pushing.
Going up the hill, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That takes a lot of skill.
With the head end over the mountain, John is performing a delicate balancing act. If we push too hard, we could cause the lead locomotive to lose control. If we don't push hard enough, we're not going to make it over.
We're in full throttle right now. We're at 10 miles an hour, right on our knees, just pushing against this train. This is extreme. This is crazy. And you're not scared. Got about 4 miles to go. This is just like being on a roller coaster going up to the top.
Getting over the Allegheny Ridge can stress any locomotive. And we don't even want to think about breaking down up here. So every locomotive on this train has been put through extensive testing at the Juniata Locomotive Shop in Altoona.
This is the Juniata Locomotive Facility. It's one of the oldest locomotive shops in the country. When Norfolk Southern needs to do an engine overhaul, they bring their engines here. This place is huge.
Juniata's shops cover a total of 30 acres. That's more than 22 football fields. It's one of the busiest locomotive shops in the world.
They service 300 to 500 locomotives here per year.
And when they say service, they mean service. The Juniata repair shops can perform every type of locomotive repair.
One of the unique things about the Juniata Locomotive Shop is that other rail companies will send their engines here to get fixed because the work here is so good.
There are 30 different shops that do everything from testing out motors.
I just pressed that button, Jeff. That's 750 horsepower right there.
Correct.
To replacing key engine parts.
This is a new one right here. Look at that. Beautiful.
They even have a giant turntable that makes sure the right locomotive ends up in the right bay.
I noticed there's a speed button there. Can it really go fast?
We can crank her the whole way up if you like.
Can you scratch like in a rap video on the turntable?
Yes, we can.
But the coolest thing about this place is how they move locomotives from shop to shop.
This is amazing. This 200-ton crane has lifted this 390,000-pound locomotive. It's moving it from over there to over here so they can work on it. Try doing that at the gym.
A 3-man crew hooks up an overhead crane to the locomotive. This single overhead crane can lift over 200 tons. That's like lifting 60 Hummer SUVs. Once the overhead crane is in place, it's time to get lifted. Look at that. Right there is a 200-ton locomotive. It looks like it's levitating. And with a push of a button, the huge locomotive is hoisted 50 feet into the air. Now, the crane operator can move the locomotive to whichever shop they want. Only when a locomotive has been fully serviced is it allowed to tackle the steep inclines of the Allegheny Mountains.